All
Okay.
right.
Hi, so I'm Tony Teixeira. I'm so excited to have Jamie with us today. Just a little bit about me. So I'm a therapist in private practice. I'm the founder of Private Practice Success School and Grow Your Private Practice Facebook group. And I'm really excited for everyone who's here live and also if anyone is watching us on the replay. And I'm really excited to introduce you to Jamie from his business therapist digital marketing. And I'm going to have him introduce himself in a minute, but I want to talk a little bit about, tell you a little bit about why I invited him and how I know Jamie, right? So, because you're probably curious about that. So, about maybe it was about 3 years ago, I signed up for like a coaching program. It was really expensive. It was, I have some people in the waiting room. Hang on. Sorry about that. And I spent probably $10,000, sticker shock, right, on this program that was going to help me fill up my private practice. Part of that program was teaching me how to do Google Ads, which I learned, I kind of figured out. It was kind of inconsistent, but I did it anyway. And then the program ended, and I was like a ship in the water without like a lighthouse to go to. I didn't know what the heck it was I was doing, and my ads just really, really tanked, and I couldn't figure it out. Cut to maybe it was the springtime. I met Jamie. Somebody had recommended him to me. And I said, look, I really want to get back to doing Google Ads. I see the value in them, but I'm not getting the traction. And Jamie came along and helped me really tweak those ads. We worked together. And I got to tell you, Jamie, just like right on point. I really love where my practice is heading. And I'm getting like 1,000% or more return on investment. So I'm really happy to have been working with Jamie. And because of that, I wanted to share him with you because I want to lift everybody up and give everybody, all the other therapists I know, I want them to know my secrets so that they can also have successful practices too. So, Jamie, please introduce yourself and tell us a
Okay,
little bit
thank
about what
you.
you do.
That's a tough intro to, I don't know, to follow, to live up to. But yeah, so as Tony mentioned, Jamie Rudishan, therapistdigitalmarketing.com. And I used to I worked at Google for 9 years. And then I was at a portfolio company. And during that time, family friend who owns a group practice here in the city said, hey, I met with a business coach who said I should do some marketing. What do you think? And we took a crack at it, and then totally word of mouth, natural snowball. Decided to leave my full-time job and concentrate on this full-time. And the way I work with therapists, and kind of as Tony alluded to, I do both the website and the Google Ads because they really do work like a team. And Google Ads will get you traffic, but your website has to close the deal. So if it were like a sports analogy, ads will pass the ball, but your website still has to throw it into the net. And that's how I do it. So really concentrate on step one, where we're going to focus on for specialties, what's right for you, what do I see work well, get that website right and tight. So whether that's a new website, total rebuild, or just adding better pages to your existing site. We do that, and then we run the ads. And I stay on for the first seven leads. Then from there, the therapist can decide if they want to keep me on or take the reins themselves, if they feel like comfortable and ready to manage ads. So that's
Right.
a little bit of my background, how I got here and how I work with folks.
Yeah. So we were talking, and you and I a couple weeks ago about mistakes that some
Mhm.
therapists make when they're doing their
Totally.
online marketing. And I know my community is especially interested in that. They may not even be realizing they're making mistakes. But I was hoping you could share a little bit about that.
Sure. Okay, so first, let me give. I'll try to come up with like what are my top three. The first one, I think, and I'm going to start with the website because that really is your home base. That's your store. Um, Putting all of the specialties on one page. So just sort of lumping them and saying, hey, I do couples, individual, family, and maybe giving each only a paragraph. Folks have so many more resources they can really learn. And the way I approach this kind of marketing is what we're looking to do is connect with someone. And what they're really looking for when they're coming from something like most digital channels, what they're really looking for is the therapist, right? So they're looking to understand, is this someone who's going to put me at ease? Is this someone I want to work with? Is this someone who just has that's something that I vibe with? So that's why I always advocate for marketing the therapist first and the therapy second. In order to really get into the meat of that and how you would work with someone, it works best to have dedicated pages on each specialty. So rather than having everything listed on your specialties page, have a page that gets into how you work with couples, how you work with families, adult ADHD, whatever is right for you. Then the second one, it's really been in the last nine months. SEO has become such a huge buzzword, and I'm not really totally sure why. I do think most therapists at least understand it at its core. If I do SEO, I'll show up on Google, I'll get clicks. That's great. However, SEO is super competitive in this space with the Better Helps, Psychology Today, some of this other big online platforms who have dedicated teams who like do this day in, day out. And so while I would never say don't do SEO, I would say I'm just feeling like there's really been a heavy concentration on it in the space that feels a little unwarranted given the difficulty and given how long it takes for SEO to show impact. And I think it's also, there's just such an asymmetrical knowledge on whether or not you're going to know it's working, and being able to, if you bring someone else in or even do it yourself, know how that goes, because SEO will get you more traffic, but oftentimes, you're probably only licensed in a state or two. So SEO is going to put you out nationwide or even internationally. And then two, a lot of people who are doing SEO, who are looking for ADHD therapy, they may not be looking for a therapist, they're looking to learn. And so there may be some better ways to spend your time doing your marketing. Please.
Hey, Jamie, can you define SEO for some
Oh,
folks who might
sure.
not even be aware? We have some new
Yeah. I
therapists.
feel free to stop me because I will
I'm
dive.
so
I will
sorry.
dive
That
in.
was me.
No, Cassandra,
No worries, Cass.
thanks for piping up. Okay, so SEO stands for search engine optimization. And what that means in layman's terms is showing up on Google and getting to the top of Google. Because it's, if you're showing up at number 15 when someone searches for ADHD therapist New York City, you're not going to get much traffic. But what SEO tries to do, or those folks who are selling it try to promise, we're going to get you to the top, which is where, if you're at the top, most of the clicks are happening. But as you can imagine, everyone wants to be at the top, so it's quite competitive, and it's not easy to do. And so that's where, from my standpoint, a time is usually better spent maybe in some other methods because of SEO. Does that help? Is that clear?
Absolutely. That was
Okay,
really helpful.
good,
Thank you.
good. And then I think the third one where folks struggle, or maybe like it's a marketing, um, it's tough with marketing, is as I've done this more, I've really come to appreciate the importance of photography. And it doesn't have to be super fancy or super professional, although having a pro certainly helps because they know what they're doing. But I think with the photographs, you want to come off as warm, comforting, kind of people you take yourself out of the ivory tower, perhaps. Not that you're essentially putting yourself there, but when someone's coming to these pages, they're nervous. They're looking for someone who helps put them at ease. And so in the photography, I always recommend definitely smiling, if not with the mouth, at least with the eyes. Being outside, sunny day can help a lot. And one thing that Tony landed in all these, I'm not sure who her photographer was, but she also had this third one that I always recommend if you can do it, if it feels right, including a pet. So she has a couple of photos with her cats. I've seen others who have dogs, and I think that just helps to humanize. And if you're a dog or a cat person, it gives that point of connection. If you're not, I don't think it's going to detract anything. So that's my third tip is really emphasizing photography and putting yourself in it and human and approachable, so you can give those points of connection that I always see people really looking for, and how they're weighing one therapist versus another.
That's great. Thank you for all those tips. You actually ended up saying really four things, because it was kind of hidden in there, which was putting the therapist first, like really and that's like kind of an aha moment for me too, and maybe for other people. We really do that as therapists. We want to tell people how we're going to help them, what we're going to do, but putting us first, that connects with the photography piece too, that we can show up as being people who feel comfortable, that people want to talk to. So it makes sense that those things like kind of go together. Yeah. I want to ask a question about websites, because you said that's like really important. Even if you're doing Google Ads, you have to have a good
Mhm.
website. So you mentioned the set specialty pages and photography and things like that. Some therapists may go out and pay for a website, or like
Yeah.
I know there's some. I started out, I used a company that did that. What do you think about like what's important to know about doing a website?
So there's a lot. It's why I always start with the website. It's the most important, and from what I've seen, because you could have amazing marketing, you could be pulling in 1,000 people a month, but if your website can't close the deal, honestly, it's better to pull in 10 people a month and two of those end up becoming customers than 1,000 who don't do anything. But elements of a really good website, and let's start with kind of what you finished with a monthly. I always recommend Squarespace. I think it's the easiest for a therapist to edit him or herself. I think the designs come out really nicely. I do think something like WordPress, which a lot of designers or bigger companies will maybe push for, is usually overkill. The website doesn't need a lot of bells and whistles. I don't think you need to find yourself in a position where you're paying like a monthly maintenance fee or ongoing charges like that. Again, Squarespace does a yearly all encompassing, but I think when you can edit it yourself, that is best, because if as things change, you don't want to pull in someone and have to pay them to just do a change that you can make yourself if the website were on a builder that is less complicated or less sophisticated. But regarding the website itself, we talked about photography, mentioned the dedicated specialty pages and why. Another thing I always push for or see helping is referring to your intake call as a free consultation. A lot of people do that already, but by calling it a free consultation, you help to reduce that barrier to entry, right? People know they're not going to have to pay anything, that this isn't their first therapy session. And I think again that helps to give them a little bit of the power and the control, and make them feel like, okay, I still don't have to make a call yet, because this is such a personal kind of medicine, and it's different, and we want to give you the chance to introduce yourself, and in those various therapists who are cash pay, be able to make the case as to why you're worth 150, 200, $300 an hour, a session, whatever that is. So I always see free consultation as a good one, as a big one. And then for those therapists who think it's right, sometimes adding a Calendly or a scheduler, something like that, can help, because you skip a step, right? You don't have to reply to the person and figure out a time together. Again, it lets them automatically find something that works for them, and can sometimes reduce what we see happen in a lot of lead generation businesses and websites. People reach out, but then they don't follow up. A lot of people will, if it's on the calendar, tend to stick to it a little bit more. And again, in therapy, we know sometimes there's cold feet and people feeling a little uncertain or brave one day and a little more shy the next. So sometimes putting it on the calendar, with a Calendly or Acuity, can also have some benefits.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I love that. I added that to my process when people are reaching out to me, and it's so great to really skip that step. I don't have to have those emails going back and forth to schedule.
Yeah.
People just go right ahead and they schedule. I was hoping you could talk a little bit about like why Google Ads. Like for me, 10 years ago when I started my practice, I would have never invested in Google Ads. I was cheap. I was just starting my practice. I'm like, what the heck? I'm not going to spend money, right? Because I'm not making any money. But I've learned some things, I would say probably about 3 or 4 years ago, that there's the commercial intent that people who
Mm.
are looking for a therapist, that is really a good way to go. So like I was wondering if you could speak to, my guess that there may be some people here are like, I don't want to spend money on Google Ads. What's the deal with Google Ads and why is it a good value or could be a good value for therapists?
Cool. Okay, I'll get into it. And before I kick this off, if anyone has questions, like as I get going, please interrupt. Because it can get I don't know, technical or term of arty pretty easily. But why Google Ads
That's
for this therapy?
That's great. So every people if that are here, if you want to ask questions, if you want to raise your hand, I can alert Jamie that you're raising your hand just in case he doesn't see it if you want to do that. And so we can have more of a conversation. Great idea, Jamie. Love that.
Cool. Fab. Okay, Cassandra, let's hit it.
So I heard you say twice about the having specialties in their own page. Do you mind
Yeah.
spending a quick second on that, on how that looks like? Because I know one of my biggest feedbacks have been that I put too much into something. And
Mhm.
so how would I manage that? What does that look like?
So let's imagine your website is like CassandraPhillips.com.
Correct. Yes.
And oh, is that right? Okay.
No, it's not,
So
but something like
oh
that.
okay. So Cassandra, let's I'm gonna imagine your specialties are couples therapy, family therapy, and I don't know, OCD therapy.
hmm
So it would be CassandraPhillips.com/OCD therapy, CassandraPhillips.com/family therapy, CassandraPhillips.com/couples therapy. And then on each of those pages, you would get into more depth around like how you work with these folks and why they come to you and why you're an expert and what your approach is, things like that. Versus what happens with a lot of folks, especially as they're starting out, it would be like CassandraPhillips.com/specialties. And there would be a paragraph on couples, a paragraph on family, a paragraph on OCD. And I think with folks just want more information and a little being able to, understand why you're worth it. But if you're trying to jam all those specialties, you can't really get into depth on any of them.
Okay. And is there like a limitation as to how many specialties one should have? Because I know for me, I focus on working with veterans and first responders. I
Okay,
also focus on trauma and PTSD. I also
amazing.
focus on grief and loss and
Yep.
addiction and
Okay.
IPV. So it
Okay.
seems like it's a lot.
So there's never a limit, but I do sometimes think about it as like a restaurant. Walk with me. So, you go to the diner and the menu has everything on it, right? We've got omelets and we've got corned beef and we've got turkey. You're like, are any of them actually that good? It's kind of all over the place. Versus we go to a bistro and the menu is like more pared down and all the things kind of make sense with each other. So I would maybe think about your specialties. Like if you were to put them on a shelf, do they all kind of work with each other? Or does it feel a little scattered? And that might
Mm,
help to kind of pare them down. Another thing I also, with the therapist I work with, we have for one of the first conversations we have is around what are the best specialties for Google Ads and which ones
mm.
do we want to focus on there. So you can sometimes have more like primary specialties and then maybe ones that you emphasize a little bit less. But I would say no hard and fast number. 3 is a good place to start. I would say maybe once you get to above 5 as a solo practice, I might start to feel a little bit catch-all-y.
Okay.
But also remember your website, it's wet cement. So you can put something up and always hide the page later if you decide it just wasn't totally taking.
Okay, this makes sense. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, so the Google Ads, why and why I think they're kind of the right mix is the way it works. When you're setting up your ads, you say to Google, okay, these are the searches I want to show up for. And that would be something like, I'll work with Cassandra's examples, PTSD therapist online, or near me, or name of her town. So you could say, I only want to show my ad when someone searches for that. And as Tony mentioned, there's an element of what's called kind of lower funnel, meaning people are ready to buy. They're looking for a therapist near me. So that means, okay, I'm actually interested versus what is PTSD therapy? They're just exploring. With our ads, we can be really smart and say, all right, I want to just go for those that show the highest intent, that indicate to me someone is probably really looking for a therapist, not more in that exploration or a research phase. So create your ad, target those keywords, and you set your daily budget. So you would say to Google, hey, I want to spend, for most of my folks, I say $500 a month, which equates to $16 a day. Don't want to spend more than 16. So you control your cost that way. Google's also always offering a give-get promotion. 3 tiers. The smallest is spend $500, get $500 in free ads. So that's a nice way to kind of cancel it out. It's a little bit like a BOGO. Buy 1 month, get 1 month free. So then your ads are set up. Someone clicks on your ad when the search for PTSD therapist near me happens. And then this is another reason you want to have those dedicated landing pages, because if someone clicks on your PTSD therapy ad and comes to a page that talks about that, that then feels like a much better fit if we think about ourselves in the seat of a user than if you're only seeing a little bit about that specialty that you search for and that you're interested in. And it doesn't maybe go as in depth as one of the other therapists in the area that they're looking for. The other 2 big advantages to doing Google Ads versus some other types of marketing: one, targeting. You can target as tight as a zip code, and then you can go to a state or a radius around your practice. You can do nationwide or multi-state if you have a multi-state licensure. You can also do targeting by things like gender, age, household income. So if some of those make sense for you or your practice or your session cost, that also helps to control it. And then finally, Google has some AI and machine learning. So as people fill out your form from an ad, it'll say, okay, great. That person who filled out my ad at 12:30 on Monday ended up turning into a lead. So I'm going to take what I know about that person and use it to decide who I show my ads for. Meaning, I could search for PTSD therapist near me. Tony could search for it. And we both might not see your ad because Google thinks maybe I'm more likely to become a lead, a customer, fill out your form than Tony, based off of what it knows about the other people who have done that earlier.
Jamie, I'm just going to jump in with that and
Please.
translate that a little bit more, which is what I heard was you can get your ideal clients and get more of them because Google Ads really learns who those people are.
Right.
And because I've seen that actually happen over the last year, that the clients that I'm getting are really closer to being the clients I really want to work with and the clients who are ready to pay for therapy, especially for private pay or out of network. Yeah, so just want to reiterate that because that's really important.
Perfect. Thank you.
And questions? Oh, did you have more to say about that? Anything else?
No, I think that
Okay.
covers it. But yeah, let's hear from the group.
Yeah. Any questions or what questions do you have? So let me
This
ask you
was
this.
understandable.
Okay, there we go. Great. Go ahead, Cassandra. Come on up. You can come off mute.
Oh no, I was saying this one was really understandable. Thank you, Jamie.
You're welcome. Yeah, we got Gurpreet.
I had a question about like your services. I have a website. I have a Google ad that's kind of running.
Okay.
But I don't like doing the work around it, like the keywords and
Uh-huh.
I've gotten leads probably. I just turned them back on and I last week I got one, but it really wasn't going to go anywhere.
Okay.
Um, So I just, if someone has a website and they have one ad, maybe I'm looking to add another ad for couples.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know if, is that something that you could do?
Yeah, so I think the question, I'll rephrase your question a little bit
Thank you.
is like, how do I work with therapists? And in an instance like this, where you have a website, you've maybe tried Google Ads in the past, and it's like rickety or not totally taking off. Um, so I'll slide into that. So your case is super common. I either work with therapists who have an existing website or are starting fresh. In cases like yours, where someone has a site, what we would do is we would sit down together and talk about what are the three specialties that we think makes the most sense for Google Ads. So you would chat about, hey, here's what I like doing, my ideal clients, here's what's working, maybe here's what I want to aim for. And then what I do is apply the filter of, okay, here's what I've seen work well for other therapists. Sometimes the niche is way too broad, like anxiety, really competitive, everyone's in there. Sometimes it's a little too niche, where it's hard to find the right people, like therapy for lawyers, college kids, young adults. They don't necessarily search that way. They more search for kind of what's bugging them. But I bring what's in the middle of that Venn diagram of what you like doing and what will perform well on the platform. Then we'll sit down for an hour and I'll interview you to get out how you work, what makes you different, why someone might want to work with you, what your approach is, sort of my intake call. Then I go off and I author all that copy, send it over to you to review. That will be the text for the website. And you say that, okay, this is good. Then I'll move over and I'll do the same thing for design. I'll draft the web pages. You'll take a look. Maybe you want to change a photo or two, move something up or down. Then once that's good, your new pages are up on the site, and I will run the Google ads to those three specialties. And I stay on until you get 7 inquiries from leads. So that's 7 folks who have clicked on an ad, come to your site, filled it out. That's one. And I stay on for the first 7 just to make sure that everything is right and going and the keywords are there and the negative keywords are all accurate. And that takes about 6 weeks. And I say usually plus or minus 2. 4 if it's really great website, the niche is not too competitive. 8 if it's a little bit harder to get for whatever reason. The record, the recent record is 6 days. That was actually a client of Tony's, who she referred me to and we worked on together. And then from there, the therapist can take it or keep me on month to month to do the leads.
Great questions. What else?
Any follow-ups on that?
I don't think so. I think I think the only thing is I'm kind of up and running with the website. So that kind of includes after the website and the Google ads, and I think I got it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, Jamie, I have
Please.
a fairly small private practice, and we have our website. And so, working with that, the approach that you talked about with working with you,
Mhm.
for would that be so? There's 4 of us. So, working with me, interviewing, would that necessarily involve bringing in the other clinicians that are employed by me, or what
Yeah,
would that look like, taking it a little
sure.
larger scale, I guess?
Yeah, good question. So for a group practice, the way it works, we would have a similar chat around what are the specialties you want to focus on, and that for you would be a combination of what is there a focus of the practice, as well as an added layer of, is there a clinician or two who we want to fill up? You know, might be a little bit newer, a little bit greener, or we just need to get them more clients for whatever reason. And they're welcome to join that conversation. The way the page differs for a group practice when I build it is, on a landing page, I always include an about me for an individual therapist. That's because the about me page is always the second or third most visited page on a therapist website. Understandable. People want to know who they're working with, as we've talked about kind of throughout the call. For group practice, instead, what I include is more of a carousel, so something that you can kind of flip through, and you would see our couples therapists. See, you know, a photo of each one, a sentence or two about their approach, and then someone could click in to the about me and read. So they're welcome to join, although it's maybe not as I've had it both ways, where I talk with the lead, or maybe sometimes there are other folks in that room.
Thank you.
Sure.
Great questions. Being the therapist that I am, I have a request for everyone who's here. I'm wondering, what would it be okay if people turn their camera on if you feel comfortable, so Jamie could and I could like see some of us? I'm gonna turn my camera on too, so I don't want to leave Jamie hanging. We want to, like undo his aloneness. We're therapists. So if you want to come on, that would be great. Susan, go ahead. You had a question. Did you have a question, Susan? Abiel?
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize I was unmuted.
That's okay. Do you have a question? I know you just joined us. Welcome. So glad you're here.
Thank you. I I missed the actual presentation, so I'm sorry. Um, but I am curious. So I am kind of like switching up my like my practice name and doing not a full rebranding, but somewhat of a rebranding. So I'm wondering, in terms of communicating with colleagues and people that already know me, what that should look like.
That's a good question. How well known is the current practice?
I would say people know me
Okay.
less than like the name of my practice.
Okay.
Mhm.
And this is kind of like in the weeds though, but it's just, I think, from the digital side first. Are you getting a new website, a new .com?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So one thing you'll want to do is you'll want to do what's called a 301 redirect, which means if someone goes to your old website, it'll
Mhm.
automatically send them to the new one.
Yeah.
Okay, seems like you're familiar. All right.
Yep.
Good. All right, so good. That's good because that's like a 201. That's more advanced. Regarding how do you get the word out there, I would say if you have an email list, send it. You know, just like a quick announcement. Hey, this is who we are. Reach out to your referral networks. So folks who you've maybe spoken with, and think about the last 12 months. That way, both it is, hey, we have a new name, and also a reminder, oh yeah, right? Like they're out there, and I can refer some clients to that practice. But other than that, I think it's maybe sometimes one of those things that we can overthink, whereas folks on the other side are just like, okay, great, cool.
Yeah.
If you keep some of your old email address too, just keep that live. So if for like, I don't know, a year maybe,
Okay.
that
Yeah.
way someone reaches out and you still get that alert.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? We have Jamie for about 5 or 10 more minutes, so just want to open it up. Or if you have questions for me, just about, increasing your clients at your private practice. Anything that I can help you with. Cass?
Yeah, I do have a quick question. Do you mind going over how marketing and social media play a role in today's age and how that can maybe tie into a lot of what we're talking about with building the website and like Google Ads. Where does social media fall in there?
Take it, Jamie. What do
Hey,
you
okay,
think?
cool.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
so here's my stance on social. Social is it can be a little bit like SEO in that you put your post out there, it goes to everyone, whether or not they're in the state in which you're licensed. That being said, if you want to go the social route, you have to lean really heavily into Reels, because that is where Meta has said how we introduce you to a new audience. Video, I think that also inherently works well for therapists because it's about connection, getting to know the person, the way showing them the way you think, the way you might show up in session, versus just like a nice daily quote or something like that that's on an image. You're just not going to get any reach. The way I think about social is it can take a lot of time, right? It can honestly feel like you are screaming into the void and I got 150 views and it took me an hour to make. But the flip is when someone does reach out to you, even if it has taken them 6 or 9 months from their first view of you, they're more likely to be ready to work with you because they've been introduced and you've kind of done a lot of warming up and they've decided, all right, like Cass is the right one for me because I like the way that they speak and things like that. So it's definitely a fit. And the way I think about social is it's another channel. So ads are a channel, social's a channel, referrals are a channel. The more channels you have, the better. Though, just try not to spread yourself too thin. The one thing about social is you have to keep feeding the beast. As soon as you stop, like your reach stops. Where some of the other methods, I mean, it's the same thing with ads, right? As soon as you stop spending, they stop. Though with ads, you build it once and then it's going to go forever. Whereas with social, you got to be on there daily, kind of at the beginning.
Yeah, great answer. I kind of think of these two things. One is that there's really not as much commercial intent on social media as there is with Google Ads. So I don't ever expect to really get clients because people who are finding you on social media aren't necessarily looking for a therapist. They're probably looking for tips and hints, but they're not purposefully looking for a therapist. And two, for me, it's a repository to create content that's educational that I can repurpose and use in other ways. That's how I use social media. And what Jamie said about feeding the beast, I don't want to spend my time doing that. Time is money, and I'd rather spend money on ads so I can buy back that time for other things. Like that's just my kind of view on social media and where it might fit in. I talk to therapists who are my clients who are, in private practice. And if you love it, I never deter anyone from doing it. Like if that's really your jam and you love it and it jazzes you up and you don't feel burnt out, then like go for it. You never know. You might find a way in to that market. So we have only a couple more minutes left. Jamie, I got some questions about, well, how do we work with you and what do you charge and things like that. I did put your email address in the
Cool.
chat. Anything you want to share about that? How people can work
Sure.
with you?
Yeah. So first, I should have said this at the beginning, but I got too into it. So for this, I'm offering 25% off anyone who mentions they came from Tony. And that's off of either, you work with me in two ways. One, I offer website templates. So those are ones that I built after working with a bunch of therapists, figuring out what works, what's the flow, how should a specialty page go. And that's really scaffolding, I think, and we're almost like a kind of a paint by numbers. And that includes both a step-by-step video guide, as well as, I think I'm the only one to offer this. When your website is built, so it has to be up, it has to be live, it has to be good enough to be, you launch it. Sit down with me for 30 minutes, live call, and we'll edit together, answer any questions. Hey, I want to make this flower a mountain. How do I do that? It's your time, and we can kind of cover. It's surprising what we can cover in like a focused 30 minutes. Then, if you want to do the ads, and I actually saw, I think Susan had a question. She's still there. Okay. So I no longer do just the ads. I'm also unique in this, but around this time last year, said, all right, let me try to do just ads. Did that through about the summer, and there was just way too big a gap in performance. I have this stat on my website. I did a case study looking at the websites that I had made and run ads versus the ones that someone else had made and we ran ads to them. The conversion rate had a 2.1 or 2.3x difference. It was a really big difference in customer satisfaction, time, like money spent. And what that means kind of in layman's terms. So conversion rate is there are people who click and then fill out the form. So a conversion rate of 10% would mean 10 out of every clicks becomes an inquiry. Conversion rate of 2% would mean 2 out of every 100 clicks becomes an inquiry. And kind of after seeing the results, it wasn't kind of fair. It wasn't matching folks' expectations to do only the ads. So to do Google Ads with me, I just have to have touched your site, whether that is building a specialty page, you using my template, or we building a full website together.
Great, thank you. And you mentioned something about 25% off of wow.
Yeah, so 25% off. So there will be just email and say, hey, I was on the call, whether you watch this here or you're later, or you just caught it in the email that's going out afterwards. And that 25% off applies to either a template or to doing like the ads project together. That one's just harder to quote because we'll want to talk about, what size are we doing? And do you have an existing website? And do we want to do 3 specialties or 5 specialties? So that's one's a little bit more person to person, but the 25% off applies.
That's great. Thank you. Very generous of you.
Of course.
Appreciate that. I'm
Yeah,
sure
Black
the group
Friday came
does
early.
too. Yeah, Black Friday came. I'm glad we did this now. So thank you all for being here. I really appreciated you all being here. In the chat, I put the website, I put Jamie's email address. Please feel free to reach out to him, let him know that you were live today, or you're watching this on the replay and you're interested in working with him or learning more about how to work with him.
Yeah, or just have a quick question or two as you get going. Feel free to, you can always shoot me an email and we can take it from there.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Jamie.
All right.
Bye all.
Thank you,
Take care.
Tony.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.